Dudes, what's up and welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are just stopping by for the first time, thanks. Let me know what you think about this video, if I can do anything better in the comments. For the longest time, I obsessed over the perfect drum sound, spending countless hours in my practice space just experimenting with tunings and, listening to albums and being like, why can't my drum sound like that? Trying all kinds of weird shit. Tune, damn it. Just to see if I could get to where I wanted to be. In reality, all I needed to do was follow some pretty easy steps, and that kind of leads you to a pretty good drum sound. And that's what we're looking for today. I'm going to get going with something I've been meaning to talk to for a while, and that is drum tuning. So I've been waiting on some gear from Sweetwater for a little while now. Finally got it. So now it's time to start my drum tuning and maintenance series. I'm going to break it into multiple videos covering everything from head replacement to cleaning and maintenance, and then kind of taking a semi-deep dive into tuning. All the methods I'm going to go over can be used by beginner drummers, pro drummers, and anyone in between. I've picked some of the best known tuning procedures that I've seen, that I've used in the past, and the ones that I think that will make the most sense to everyone. There's obviously many schools of thought out there when it comes to tuning, so I've chosen a few that are, I guess, standardized and everyone can use. So I chose the Wrinkle Method, which pairs well with tuning by ear. Over the course of these videos, I'm going to give you some tips and some tricks that took me many years to figure out, but helped put my mind at ease when it really came down to it. First off, we're going to start with how to remove the heads from your drums, and then we'll move on to putting the heads back on, or the new heads on, and then tuning them up the way I like to tune them up. In a different video, which I'll link above, you can check out the in-between video, which will be the cleaning and maintenance episode. Let's get right into it. So here I've got my 10-inch Mapex Armory. It's got some Evans on it. Sounds pretty good, but I've had these heads on there for like, I don't know, a year, maybe two. So, I wanted to change them and also do these videos. So you're going to start with removing your heads. Pretty simple step. You can do this with, this type of a drum key, any regular drum key, or you can even use, a drill attachment if you got one. I don't. So currently what I've got on here are some Evans UV2 coated drum heads, and these provide kind of a more warm, pronounced sound, which is usually what I like to go for. However, I wanted to kind of switch to something that's more open and just go back to a head that I had used before. I always recommend having a box or some sort of container to put your tension rods in. That way you can just, keep them all separated, keep them nice. You can use, a pre-made box, or you can even use, a milk carton you've cut the bottom off of, or Ziploc bags if you plan on applying some degreaser to them or something like that. You've got the heads removed from your drum, and you are ready to either move to your head installation step, or if you want to, the deep cleaning step, which I would always recommend between head changes. Okay, so now that your drum is nice and clean, we're going to move on to the head installation. So, got my brand new heads here. And first step is I'm going to just give them a wipe down with a rag on the outside edge. Sometimes they come from Sweetwater or the manufacturer with some dust and stuff on them. Don't want that getting on the bearing edge. My next step is going to be, because I'm putting the heads on immediately, I'm going to squirt some white lithium grease into the threaded inserts. Just a tiny little bit, just enough to coat the threads as it's going in. I would definitely recommend doing this if you haven't cleaned your drums in a long time, like me. However, if you're like just doing some general retuning and taking the heads off, putting the heads back on just to experiment, not as important. All right, then you're going to place the head on. I like to put my head on to, where the drum's going to be facing me. For this particular setup, I'm going to try kind of like an off-centered approach. So something kind of like this. So I'm going to line the Evans logo up with this badge right here. And then I usually take my hoops, and at this point, I will usually put them on a flat surface to make sure they're not warped, because that could cause some tuning deficiencies or some crazy wonky sounds out of your drums. Put that on. Put it on, try to get it as centered as possible. Your eyeballs. Then you're going to thread in each of your tension rods. All right, then you're going to run these down so they're making contact with your hoop. This is where it could come in handy to have like a lazy Susan, or you can put your drum on your throne. That way it can turn easily. I just haven't done that yet. All right, so everything's pretty much making contact. Now your next step is to make everything as finger tight as it possibly can be. Now your next step is a point of contention with some people out there in the drumming world. Next up, I like to seat the head. So to seat the head, you're just gonna basically perform CPR on your drum. So palm right in the middle, give it a few pumps. Sometimes you can hear the glue pop. Other times you'll just hear it make some crazy sounds. It's perfectly normal. Just breaking in the head, getting it ready for tuning. Now we're gonna check to make sure everything is finger tight still. When I do this finger tight method, I like to go like one full revolution around the drum. That way I get both the left hand and the right hand on it, because I know that I'm weaker on one side than the other. So this pretty much helps me make sure that everything's about as even as it can be. Now, take your drum key, and what I like to do is I like to line up all of the tension rods to where the key is kind of even. So I just go to like the next best setting. So here, not quite straight, so I'll go down a little bit. Here, I'll go up a tiny bit, up. I just do that because, I don't know, maybe I have OCD, but it helps me make sure that everything's kind of going down as evenly as possible. So my next step is going to be to put like a half a turn, quarter turn on each lug just to get to a good starting point. So let's do a match. Make sure you're using a cross pattern here to make sure everything's going down kind of evenly. That way, nothing's too wonky whenever you try to tune the drum. All right, at this point, I like to take a clean, dry rag, and we're gonna do what is called the Wrinkle Method. So apply just a little bit of pressure to the drum to see if any wrinkles appear. And it looks like, honestly, finger tightening and going down like a quarter turn has pretty much gotten us to where we need to be. There's a little bit of a wrinkle right here, so I'm going to go ahead and try to correct that. Just as a note, if you tighten this side lug, the lug opposite is going to be affected as well. So just keep that in mind. There. All right, pretty much all of our wrinkles have disappeared. So at this point, you can see what each lug sounds like independently, and then you can begin to make them all match, or make the drum or the head in tune with itself. Really important. Again, many schools of thoughts that say that this is important or not. I think that as long as they're close and relative to each other, you should be fine. So we're going to see what that sounds like. So we've got some outliers, definitely. Sounds like this side over here can go up a little bit, and then the lug opposite as well. Every little bit you do on these things counts. Kind of in the beginning, you can do larger turns, and then once you kind of get to your target, you do smaller turns from there on out. All right, there the wrinkles disappeared. So again, we're going to try making sure the drum is in tune with itself. So you can hear we got these weird overtones, this like wonky sound going on. So to combat that, you can take one finger or thumb or whatever you want to put in the middle and just touch the center of the drum, and then that'll effectively get rid of the overtones. Okay? Fairly in tune. For the sake of this demonstration, those are probably close enough to what I'd like to hear. Additionally, I know that sometimes with the smaller drums, the more pressure you put on the middle to take out the wrinkles could get you a higher pitch than you actually want. All right, flip the drum over, repeat the exact same steps. All right, I'm just checking the bearing edge because I'm using this like foam, and it could be foam on the actual bearing edge itself. Make sure there's nothing on there. Make sure it's still nice and smooth. I forgot to mention drum heads on the bottom. So I've been using Evans for a long time. I'm using the G1 on the bottom. It's a nice rounded sound. It's perfect for the style of music I play. Pretty much suited for anything, really. But for the top head, I'm going to go back to trying to use this Evans EC2. I used to use the UV2 coateds, which give you like a warmer sound. But I wanted to try these again to give you a wide open sound. And they've even got these EQ rings inside of them. Evans says that these provide a pre-EQ'd sound. Isn't that neat? Wow. Wow. But first, I'm going to put some lithium grease on this side. So again, just a tiny little dab in each threaded insert. Just enough to coat the threads. Then, put the head on. Again, lining it up to where I want it to be. Get your hoop on. Try to line up the best you can with your eyeballs. Make sure the head's kind of in the center. Then again, thread down tension rods. Get everything touching the hoop. After that, I'm just going to make sure everything is finger tight. The finger tight thing, you can do this anytime. Like, I've seen a lot of people who don't even put the hoop on the drum and then do the head seating, put the hoop on, and then run it down finger tight. There's really no like best answer for this. It's literally whatever you want to do, whatever makes sense in your head. So 1 circumference around the drum. All right, everything's touching. I'm going to go ahead and do my CPR movement again, just to seat the head, kind of break it in. Also, it kind of helps make sure that it's in the center. You can really hear that one moving. You hear the glue breaking a little bit. We're going to line everything up. So it's not even close. We're going to go up a little bit. Again, starting with Wrinkle Method. Right there in the center. Push down a little bit. So we don't have as many wrinkles here. All right, but we can go ahead and work them out. So we'll start there. Again, using that X, star, cross, whatever you want to call a pattern. Some people like to check the drum right here in this time frame, just to see where each lug is, and then get them all in tune with each other. So they all sound fairly close. So we're going to keep going with the Wrinkle Method. Right there in the middle. If you've been doing this for a while, you can feel some lugs have a little more slack than others, or a little more looser than others. You know that one, you know it's got to go down farther. I got a random wrinkle. It's always here over here. Sometimes you can work that out by just giving some more CPR. And then just realize that when you do that, the head's going to go down again because the rods are going to easily work themselves out with the holes. So that one's still there. I'm just going to take that one out by itself. And then I want to check to see where we're at. So those are all relatively close. And as you can hear, me just tuning this one lug took up the entire drum's tone. So it really doesn't take a lot. All right, then, at this point, you can see where you're at. All right, see if it's the sound you like, or if you need to kind of experiment with your tone. All right, and listen to it. All right, honestly, to me that sounds way too low. So we're gonna go up a little bit. As you can see, we got some wrinkles still going on. I'm pushing a little harder with the 2-ply head. Sometimes you got to push a little harder to get that that tension you want. Let's see where we're at here. I still got a little buzz, so I'm going to go up just a tiny little bit on each lug using that cross pattern. And check them all again, make sure everything's in tune with itself. Sounds a little low. Let's see what we got. I'm going to go up just a tiny bit more. Still hear some dissonance going on there. That sounds pretty good. So what you're looking for, what the wrinkle method basically does is it's going to get your heads to a relationship that produces almost the perfect sound. Generally, you want your top head to be lower than your bottom head. All right, so the top head is producing your punch, your sticking sounds, maybe some of the tone. All right, and then the air channel, the air inside of the drum is bouncing off of the bottom head, the resonant head, and producing that resonance and that nice vibrant tone of the drum. That's what's going to give you kind of your fundamental pitch is out of that bottom head. So there's another method out there where you can knock the shell and actually hear the resonant sound or the fundamental note sound of the shell, and then tune, if you wanted to tune by ear or tune using notes, you could tune your bottom head to that note, and then that would be the best place for your drum to be the most natural sounding and produce the best sound. John Good from DW is where I learned that. He's called the Wood Whisperer for a reason. But you can usually, obviously this one has heads on it, but you can pick up the drum and you can hit the side of it and hear the tone coming out of it, and then effectively tune your resonant head to that pitch, and that should give you almost the perfect sound. What I found though is if you use the wrinkle method, that's going to get you pretty much to exactly where that's at. So that's a really good starting point. Punchy, lots of sustain, some low end, which is what I like. So next, we're going to put this thing on a stand and see how it sounds with just microphones, and then with maybe some EQ, and see where we can go from there. So obviously you guys can't hear that through the camera. However, this thing sounds amazing in this room. It's got some low end, it's punchy, it's got that resonance that I like. I think this is a really great sound, a really usable sound. However, it's really good to hear this in the context of your entire drum kit and see if it's exactly where you want it to be. And then you can actually, raise or lower the top head and get that pitch you want. Or, if everything's kind of not sitting right, you can adjust both heads. However, you should, at this point, if you've done the wrinkle method correctly, this thing's tuned with the shell, should be perfectly resonant. You should just be able to effectively raise and lower this top head and get the sound you're looking for. Now, when it comes to tuning like this, anything goes. So for me, this is a really usable sound. And my one tip to you, honestly, is there are no rules. There's no right answer. All right, I chased the perfect drum sound for literally ever, and it took me a really long time to realize that it's what sound I'm looking for that matters out of these drums. So, if you're looking for a really high-pitched or tight, jazz sound, if that's for you, go for it. If you're looking for something kind of low and rumbly, here you go. If you're looking to have your, your top head just barely finger tight and get that super low boxy sound, go nuts. There are really no rules, like I said. So do whatever makes you happy in whatever drum sound you're looking for. So next we're gonna move on to the kick drum. All right, basically the same principles, except for it's got some muffling. All right, so here we are with my 22 by 18 kick drum. The steps for this are almost identical to the other methods. The only difference is really bigger drum, obviously, some weird, bigger, different hoops. With this drum, there's also some dampening methods, different types you could use. Additionally, for this, when it comes to the wrinkle method, we'll get into it eventually, but for this one, you could bring it up to whatever pitch you want or just barely get the wrinkles out and not even have to worry about each lug being in tune with itself or the drum being in tune with itself. Because honestly, all you're getting out of this is a thud. You're just beating the hell out of it. So whatever you choose to do is on you. So I'm actually most excited about this drum when it comes to replacing my heads. Because I don't think I've replaced the heads on this thing, even, maybe the resonant head in since I got the kit, honestly. Several years. So break this bad boy open. Look at that thing, it's beautiful. Get that out. Yeah, nice. So same as the other procedures, I'm just going to take a rag and go around the outside, make sure there's no manufacturer dust or random bullshit that got in there. Put that on where you want it. And for this drum, you can probably do your lithium grease once the head's on because there's tons of room. So I'm going to line this thing up with the bottom. So the hole is at the bottom of the drum here. Perfect. Lithium grease, again, just enough to coat the threads. Man, this is really when I'd like to have a lazy Susan. This thing's gigantic. All right, you take your hoops, put those on. So on your hoops, there's a flat side and a rounded side. I'm not sure if you can see it there. Probably not. Rounded side. So obviously the rounded side is going to go outboard. Front face of the drum. Your flat portion is going to go around your rim here. Additionally, I have some tape on my other one to prevent my bass drum from rubbing through, or my pedal from rubbing through. So I just know that's the correct one for that side. And then you've got your clamps, so I call them. Thread those in. At this point, there's no particular order that matters, as long as you get them all threaded in. And as you can see, again, I started with the Reso head. It doesn't really matter for the kick drum which head you start with, unless dampening is something that you're considering, and then you could leave your resonant head off if you want to experiment with different types of dampening methods. And then again, just like the other drums, run these down until they're making contact. Make sure everything's kind of straight and straight. These are much bigger tension rods, so they can move around a lot more. All right, we're gonna get everything tight as we can, finger tight. And then honestly, for this one, for the resonant head, I usually don't even seat the head. However, we're gonna do that this time just to see what happens. And then around one more time, just to make sure everything is still finger tight. Same as the other drums. Take my rag, palm in the middle, give it some pressure. You can see we got tons of wrinkles, so I'm just gonna go around. And for this one, like I mentioned, it doesn't really matter if it's going up super even or if anything's the same. We're gonna just go up a little bit at a time. Kind of using again, star, X, cross, whatever pattern, just to get the wrinkles out. And that's honestly as far as you need to go. So you can hear it's got A little bit of tone. See where we're at on the wrinkles again. Push down slightly. Still got some wrinkles, so I'm gonna go around one more time, just give it a tiny bit of love. All right. I don't like to go much over getting the wrinkles out on any of the kick drum heads. I just feel that that is about as tight as it needs to go. It's gonna produce an awesome sound, and that's gonna be your thud. You really like your kick for like metal or rock music. You want that sound that's got the click, the oomph behind it. But if you're looking for something else, you can tune them up a little farther. You can use some other tuning methods. Again, whatever goes. I'm gonna flip this kick drum over. Okay, and for me, like I mentioned, dampening methods. So for me, I like to use this thing. Honestly, I forgot what it's called. It's got the symbol right there. This thing is about as much dampening as I need. I want to still have that wide open sound, but have a tiny bit of muffling against the front and the back heads to get that nice punchy like metal sound that I like. One other reason I use this thing is it's got this Velcro strips right here. So my kick drum mic can attach to a small stand that you can put inside the kick drum in this area on these Velcro strips to get the sound you're looking for. So it's similar to a Kelly shoe mount, but it's obviously a dampening method as well. So that's pretty cool. I'm gonna shove that thing right there. Through our batter head on there. So for both these heads, I've chosen the Evans EQ3. Again, the same as the EC2S's. I used these in the past and really loved the sound, so I wanted to try to go back to it after the last time when I had an EMAD, which are also amazing kick drum heads. All right, so same as last time. Around the outer edge, the rag, get all that dust off of there. Perfect. So as you can see, this foam dampening system is barely touching that front head. All right, just barely making contact. So there's not too much pushing on the drum head and preventing that tone from coming out. You can use whatever dampening method you want. When I was in high school, I threw a blanket in there. It was literally sitting over the entire head, front and back. And you know, if that's the sound you're looking for, if that's a feeling you're looking for, then that's all that matters. When it comes to the kick drum, it's all about the feel that you get out of it, and then of course the sound. All right, so again, taking our gigantic hoop, and as you can see, I've got my my like skateboard grip tape here to make sure that the pedal isn't eating through the nice natural wood. So put that down at the bottom there. Apply your lithium grease. Thread in tension rods. Make them all touch. Finger tight them. As you can see, the wrinkles were already there, already started to disappear. Seat the head. Some CPR. Oh yeah, you can hear the glue on that one a lot. Then we'll go straight to our wrinkle method. Put a few wrinkles. Go just a tiny bit at a time for each lug. Your cross, X, star, whatever pattern. Already starting to disappear there. Doesn't take a lot of pressure on the kick drum, honestly, because you want that thud and that, you know, clicky attack on there, especially if you're playing metal. When I strike the drum, you can hear a fundamental note out of it. That's honestly as far as you need to go. You're gonna get great sound out of this thing. Now, if you wanted to, you could also go around and even everything out. But honestly, it's really not necessary with the kick drum. So we'll hear what we got. Obviously, it can be a little harder to hear these lugs because of the dampening you're using. However, it's still going to produce a note. So get a little flappiness. I hit some of those, so I might go down a little bit farther with my wrinkle method. Yeah, there's still technically some wrinkles in here, so I'll go just a tiny bit more on each lug. Yeah, that sounds pretty damn great. Probably the easiest drum to tune. Just throw everything on, run it down, put some dampening in there, you're done. So we're gonna hook the pedal up and see what we got. Again, just mic sound and then an EQ'd sound. Okay, so here we are behind the kit. I wanted to take an opportunity to demonstrate why it's important to listen to your drums in the context of the entire kit, like I mentioned in the previous portions of the video. So I've got my other rack tom and my floor toms tuned up to where I think they need to be, and then I've left the 10-inch tom exactly where it was when we used the wrinkle method. Okay, so we're going to hear it in the context of the other kit, or the rest of the kit, and then we're going to adjust as necessary to get the sound we want. So let's hear it. So sounds pretty good by itself. However, if you listen to it with the rest of the toms, you're going to notice something. All right, so it almost sounds identical to the 12-inch tom. And then it doesn't blend well with the other drums. All right, so luckily there's an easy way to fix this. So just like I mentioned, it's important after doing the wrinkle method to check your tom, right, or check your drums, and then adjust as necessary to get the pitch you want. Like I said, it takes a little playing around to figure out exactly what you want, but this is a pretty easy step. Okay, so now we're going to take the tom off and adjust it. The entire tom needs to be pitched up to sit in context with the rest of our drums. Go around using your X pattern, and then check each lug afterwards to make sure they're all relatively the same pitch. Okay, pretty close. Flip it over. Check your Reso head. And then again, check each tuning rod. Okay, this one needs to come down a little bit. So whenever you go down, it's always good to go down a little bit and then back up. You don't want the momentum of the tuning rod to be backing itself out. So if you're putting stress on the drum head, it's going to be backing itself out the whole time. You want to keep that constant forward motion of your key. Okay, it's pretty close. See where that got us? Again, listen to it in the context of the rest of the kit. Sounded way better already. All I did was take it quarter of a turn up. So we're going to go a quarter turn more and see where we get. Okay, once you get to a certain point with your Reso head, you can then do fine adjustments with just your batter head to get exactly where you want to be. So I'm going to go up just a tiny bit on this and see if that gets me a warmer, nicer tone. So that right there is way closer to where I want to be. This wrinkle method and then adjust with the context of the other toms or the other drums can be used in pretty much any setting. So, you can use it if you are just a drummer making YouTube videos in your basement, or you can use it if you're a gigging drummer using maybe somebody else's kit or a backline kit. 90% of the time, the problem is going to be in your Reso head on the bottom. So with most of the time, you can get away with pitching that up dramatically and then just playing around with the fine details of your batter head to get everything in line. It's also worth noting that if you really get lost with where you're at in the tuning, if you're trying to get your lug and you're just completely lost, everything sounds way off from each other, you can actually take the drum back down to finger tight in a situation like that. So finger tight it and then go around your drum, whatever your standard turn amount is, until you get to the point where you want to be. So that's it for this episode. If you guys enjoyed what I've showed you, if you plan on maybe using the wrinkle technique in some of your future endeavors, please let me know. Let me know down in the comments whether it was successful for you, if there's something maybe that didn't make sense that I could explain a little more in detail. Additionally, I think I've mentioned it in past parts of the videos, but if you guys want me to do a deep dive into other tuning techniques like the interval method for using notes, the relationship of the batter head to the Reso head, or maybe something on the TuneBot, using that to achieve the sound you want, please let me know. I'm all ears and willing to do whatever videos that will help you guys out. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Like and subscribe if you haven't had a chance to yet, and keep experimenting.